in Saint-Denis, the site for this year's World Championships. But today, we get things underway with the men's marathon, 26.2 miles. Terry Gannon, along with Larry Rawson. Take a look at the world record by Khalid Kanuchi from the U.S. 2002 London Marathon, but he is not in the field today. And you see some of the raindrops, and that certainly will have an effect on the marathon this afternoon. And Larry, take a look at some of the top competitors, including Getahene Abera from Ethiopia.
And Abera is the defending champion in this event, the defending Olympic champion, the first time in history, Terry, of the World Championships and the Olympics that it has been held by one person. Tough competitor, doesn't have some of the fastest times like Kanuchi ever run, but he's a real winner when it comes to getting on the track based on his history and running the road.
The start line near the Hotel de Ville, but they will run throughout Paris, past Notre Dame, and on the Champs-Élysées, the Place de la Concorde, where more than 1 million people gathered to watch the '98 World Cup that France won. And past the Arc de Triomphe and the Eiffel Tower and back through Saint-Germain, past Gare de l'Est and Gare du Nord, at least in those areas, and then back north of the city as they head back out to Stade de France here in Saint-Denis, where they will finish up. But the conditions certainly a factor today, Larry.
Terry, yeah, good things to see here if you're a marathon fan. This is the coolest day of the 8 days thus far of competition. Notice the officials are wearing jackets. People have been walking around with their hands in their pocket. I would say mid to upper 60s and moderate humidity with overcast skies.
And so they're off and racing here in the men's marathon, 26.2 miles. There was a lot of concern recently, and you know all about the heat wave that took so many lives here in Paris. In fact, one official estimated that to be at about 10,000, but that was a few weeks ago. But there was concern at the afternoon start time of this marathon that the heat would be too much, but not today. As Larry mentioned, it is cool, it is overcast, there's a little bit of rain here in the French capital.
These guys woke up thrilled today with this weather compared. You know, it has not been abnormally warm here, but I would say at night the temperature is probably 75 degrees, and during the day it's probably 85. Warm conditions nonetheless to run a marathon in. And yesterday morning I got up after some thunderstorms, actually walked outside, saw a little frost on my breath, temperature probably 52, 54. So these guys feel blessed a little bit. 93 of them heading off for the National Stadium. And right away we have someone who has basically started that former movie, The Loneliness of the Long-Distance Roadrunner.
Luc Trottoir from the Netherlands, number 983, out to the front. It's some gorgeous views today of what is just a visually stunning European capital here. And the U.S. has 5 athletes entered in today's race, and I'm not sure you expect any of those to really be factors today, Larry, but Kevin Collins, I should say, Keith Dowling, Jimmy Harold, Ryan Shea, Clint Barron.
U.S. has got a much more organized program to try and build its distance running world-class number of elite athletes, and those athletes have been invited to compete here. Most of them are in the 213, 214 lifetime best category. Shea coming off a very successful career just in the last year or so from Notre Dame, where he was a good 5 and 10,000 meter runner, and those guys have the potential to make good marathoners. The lower the time you can come in here with a fast 5 and 10K runner, those are the great ones in marathon.
So the runner from the Netherlands ahead of the pack at this point.
The course really, as you mentioned, will be wending its way through the city. It's not very hilly. The athletes will have about a 1 mile rise in the race at mile 10. Then it kind of levels out at that altitude and falls back down again at about 12.4 miles into the race and drops pretty much down to where it was before by the halfway point in the race. Then there's only one other real hill that they have to contend with, along with the beautiful buildings and the great, great history that is Paris all along the River Seine. It's really a beautiful city. I've been very impressed with my stay here. And the city and the people have been very supportive of these World Championships. Perhaps 60,000 people turning out every single night.
Saw just a moment ago Julio Rey from Spain, number 403, in second place, forcing the pace a little bit as well. But no doubt the Kenyans, the Ethiopians will play a large role in today's marathon.
They will. There's a team title at stake here where there's money that will be given out as well. In the individual marathon here, they will be passing out a total of $150,000. And we might add here, Terry, that these championships alone, there's a total going out to all of the different events spread over these World Championships. Money's totaling $7.5 million will be given out to the athletes. And if you break a world record, you get another $100,000 on top of that. And there'll be some money for the team that wins this marathon title.
We've seen a couple of $100,000 checks cut this week, a couple of best times in the walks, and there was some discussion because they weren't technically recognized as world records, but best times, that the $100,000 would not be paid, but the IAAF has decided to pay those.
That's a good point, and they call those world bests in race walking, as they do in the marathon, because the courses all over the world vary. So they're called world bests when they're not done on a stadium track where everything is even and flat, and as it is all over the world on those tracks.
Zhao Ntiamba, number 25, right behind the leader, number 983 right now. Luc Crotoir from Holland, the Netherlands. Julio Rey from Spain, number 403 in the red. Also among the trio leading the race at this point, and as we said, you would expect him to be among the leaders.
Watching leg turnover, very solid pace. I would guess it's under 5 minutes a mile here to get things started. We'll see if the rest of the field plays games, makes it tactical, and lets these guys just pull away as they approach the mile point.
So the men, I would think, I've never run a marathon, not only to compete, but to be among the best in the world.
You know, Terry, years ago, Emil Zatopek, who was one of the stars of the Games of 1952, the Olympic Games, said, if you want to run a race, run the 100-meter dash. If you want to experience a great moment in your life, run a marathon. It's got all the ingredients. Take discipline, training, goal setting, elation at the end. It's very hard. It is the most humbling of all distance running events in the world.
And as much as anything, the locations help define the marathons. You know, the Boston Marathon and the London Marathon, and here in Paris with all the sights here in Paris and the people coming out on the streets, and certainly the French flair. It's got to be a special feeling.
It certainly is. 5K time and 15 minutes. These guys are really cooking along at a sub 4-minute 50-second pace. They're on pace to have a very fast marathon.
Zhao Ntiamba, the man who leads the marathon at this point, but the pace is pretty good early on, and you see the fans lining the streets here in the French capital. Larry, a little bit earlier, a bumping incident, and one of the men involved, Zhao Ntiamba, he was one of the leaders early on, number 25.
Right, and you know, you don't see this happen too often. There was actually conversations that went back and forth, like watch out and so forth. The Ethiopians acted as peacemakers between Rey of Spain and Ntiamba of Angola with a handshake, like, we're all in this together, let's just chill. I'm not sure what languages they spoke in.
The universal language of handshake. And Frederick Chirono from Kenya, as they got to the halfway point, he was your leader.
The pace kicked along at about 4:50 for the first 10K, and then the pace settled down a little bit to 4 minutes and 56 seconds, and they crossed the halfway point in 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 45 seconds. You double it there at a 2:09 plus pace, and 47 men went by within 10 seconds, Terry. So A, it tells you it's comfortable. B, it makes for a very exciting second half of the race as surging tactics will go on as they try and break the will of everybody else.
And back live now as we look at Paris and the way the race has transpired. Frederick Chirono of Kenya is up there, number 798. Julio Rey, number 403, still up there. But Jawad Garib from Morocco racing to the front of the pack just a moment ago, you saw, as they continue through the crowded streets of Paris.
Now there you see all of the water stops along the way. They're there at about every 2 miles. And in the first Olympic Games, Terry, won by Spiridon Luz, he could drink wine along the way. These guys just get water and soft drinks and stuff like that.
Man of my own heart.
Yeah, Fred, you know what your story you'd like is Fred Lipo, who ran his first marathon up in Yonkers, and he said, I just get in the race, I didn't know what was going on. I went to a water station, they handed me some tea, I drank it, it blew my head off, it was bourbon. He said, you know, I got about 5 more water stops, I felt great. He said, that marathon didn't hurt at all. I felt terrific. He said, I told a story 3 weeks later, and somebody said, that doesn't happen in marathons. He said, I thought that happened at every race.
He quit running.
No, he loved it.
Well, the old days of the Tour de France, there's that great old poster with one cyclist leaning over and giving the other a hit on his cigarette. And that doesn't happen very often in the Tour de France anymore either, how sports have changed. But a good look at the pounding that the athletes take throughout 26.2 miles.
Look at this pack still together here now, well into this race. Wow, I'm surprised at even people losing their balance, getting knocked aside. Ryan Shea was leading the American contingent. He was about a minute and a half behind and had gone through his first 10K at about a 5-minute mile pace. And we'll try and keep you updated as to the best Americans. Keep an eye on the man in white with a white bandana that you see there. That is Lee Bongju, who's been a Boston Marathon winner and is really a tough guy. He is from South Korea. He is quite an athlete.
A little more bumping and some more apologies as well. Frederick Chirono saying, sorry, didn't mean to get in your way.
The Kenyans, Terry, have training camps up in the Rift Valley where most of the great athletes live, and there's a real focus on events like this. There's a lot of pride at stake here. Ethiopia really toasted the rest of the world here up in Edmonton at the last World Cup, the World Championships that they have here. It's a team event, and the top 3 athletes from each country score. And it was all Ethiopia. Kenya has sent a very strong contingent here to fight them. Whenever those 2 guys get together on a sporting diamond in running, it is like a Super Bowl. That's the way the countries look at it. It is both countries' best event of all the sports they compete in.
The center of your screen, Notre Dame, and the Ile de la Cite, Ile Saint Louis, and the Seine, which runs around both of those little islands, and just a great, if you ever take a Bateau Mouche, one of the tour boats throughout the city of Paris on the Seine, that's a great way to see the entire city.
And they have a dinner cruise at night that goes down and feeds you dinner and tells you all about the city. It's really quite an affair. Well, the dreams of these athletes are starting to really clash with reality here. The first half of the race is comfortably run, and then the surging tactics start. The body starts to wear down. Body temperature goes up to about 102 to 103 degrees during the race. Normal's 98.6. Half an hour after the race, body temperature right back down to normal.
And there is the backside of Notre Dame. I've been much more physical than you expected than we normally see in a marathon so far, hasn't it?
And it is because you got so many people packed in.
Right.
No one has made a move. You know, I mentioned Spiridon Luz, the first Olympic champion back in 1896. People didn't really know how to train well for this event. His average time, 7 minutes and 5 seconds to run the whole marathon per mile. These guys are under 5 minutes, and it's going to get faster. And you see Julio Rey, number 403, a 207 marathoner, has been up there the whole way. Things are picking up here. This is going to start getting really exciting and challenging.
Julio Rey, 403 in the red, but it's Frederick Chirono from Kenya, number 798, who is the leader at this point. He has the best time of 2:08:47. He won this year's Rome Marathon. And Jawad Garib from Morocco, whose best is 2:09:15, also among the leaders. And just a moment ago, number 818, Michael Rodich from Kenya, the 2003 Paris Marathon winner, moving to the front of the pack.
Terry, he has the fastest time coming into this event, 2 hours, 6 minutes, and 33 seconds to just run a full 26 miles. That's amazing pace. And now we're back live here as the other athletes try to cover the move. Look at this. He surged to test the will to see if people were going to go with him. Now he's resting a little bit. The rest of the pack congealed up with him. Ray looking around. The Kenyans running well. The Ethiopians have been quiet. I don't see and haven't seen Gezahene Avera, the Olympic and world champion thus far, up in the front. I'm trying to separate him from that gaggle of athletes.
And no one has been able to sprint out to the head of the pack and be left out there to set the pace throughout. The groups have chased down any leaders that have gone out. What do you read into that very quickly, Larry?
Well, I read into it that it's tactical. People are observing the breathing. They're testing everybody now. The surging tactics to try and break the will. Look at this. Look at it. He's trying to get wide here. This is going to be a very interesting last 40 minutes of this race coming up.
Rashid Ziar from Algeria, another one up near the front of the pack. So the men's marathon rolling through Paris here at the World Track and Field Championships presented by Adidas. We'll be back in just a moment. Here in Paris for the men's marathon as we pick up the action once again. Terry Gannon along with Larry Rawson, Julio Rey, number 403 from Spain. The last few minutes has gone out to the front to see if anyone would chase him, and then gone back to the pack.
Number 688 right there on the right of your screen, showing his face up in the lead pack for the first time. That is Stefano Baldini from Italy. Very consistent, very tough marathoner, does well in the heat. You can count on him to run well. Was a half marathoner, 10,000 meter man for Italy in the Atlanta Games. Didn't have the leg speed. He moved up to the marathon, has had a great career at that distance. As we have about 35 minutes or so left in this race, and they're coming up to another 5-kilometer checkpoint. The pace has slowed down in the last 5K, Terry, to about a 5-minute, 10-second mile pace. And that being said, there's been different surges that people have covered. Lead pack down to about 18 people now as attrition sets in this race.
That's a good seat right there for the marathon, don't you think?
Yeah, this city's got just great stuff in it. It really has. Canals and beautiful vistas and great antiquity.
They come around, yeah, they come around the turn and vantage point in any one of the bistros that you could be in along the streets of Paris. Baldini, by the way, from Italy, who just joined that lead pack, former European marathon champion, and also he won the bronze medal in Edmonton in 2001.
16 people in that lead pack right now. Pulse rate's amazing for these guys and how fit they are. Normal for a human being is 72 beats a minute. If you're sitting watching a football game at home, these athletes through their training get their pulse rates down as low as 40 to 45 beats a minute just sitting around. Their system gets that efficient. Their pulse rate right now is up at the 180 beats a minute, 4 times normal for them. And they can hold it for up to an hour.
I'd like to thank French television, by the way, for giving us these pictures of Paris today and the men's marathon. Come across another checkpoint. And, you know, you look ahead to next year, Larry, in the Olympics, and a number of countries deciding on who they're going to send to the Olympics based on the results of today's marathon.
That's true. The Japanese have implied that this will weigh, the success today will weigh heavily on who is chosen for their teams, both men and women. And this is common also to be factored in for countries like Ethiopia and Kenya, where they get so many athletes competing in the same place at one time. And in that way, in a sense, Terry, they don't have to stage their own meet and spend precious money if they're not a well-to-do country on doing it themselves. While we have a second, I know you feel this way. Let's give a tip of the hat to Walt Murphy, who makes every telecast better, who works with us as a researcher and statistician, helping us with all this detailed information we have to dig
into. He makes every telecast possible, not just better, says Walter Murphy.
Well, that's a great tribute.
Still celebrating his birthday, even though it was days ago. Jose Manuel Martinez from Spain in the red, number 395. We've seen a lot of Julio Rey, his countrymen, but now he is up among the leaders. Claude Garib from Morocco, number 912. A lot of talking going on and banter back and forth between the runners throughout this marathon in Paris today.
2 countries up in the lead that have a tradition themselves of fierce athletic competition. The Algerian Ziar and the light top from Algeria up against the Moroccan up in the lead too that you mentioned, Garib. Look at these beautiful views. What a city. This is like a travelogue, an infomercial. Come to Paris.
On a daily basis, you could take pictures of this city and put them on your wall or bring other people here with those.
The guy who has been playing kind of the comedian of the crew up there is Julio Rey. He is now in 3rd place wearing the red top of Spain, and he's been looking around, chatting to people. There he is, just people looking back at him. He surged ahead, slowed down, pranced, and then let everybody catch up with him again. But he's been kind of a disruptive force to a steady pace and has kind of cut in front of people a few times. As you can see them looking around, kind of like, what are you doing? .6 miles into the race. That's the split. 1 hour, 32 minutes, and 32 seconds for that point in the race here. And there's the whole pack that's there.
And Paris. Well, it rained earlier here in the city at the start of the marathon, and we've had little showers throughout the afternoon, but not much at all. We thought it'd be have more of an impact on the marathon today. Showers in the forecast, though. Some Real thunderstorms the last couple of days, though, with lightning that you don't often see here. I guess it's because of the heat, but the heat is gone and temperature approaching 60. It's very comfortable.
Back at about 3 miles back into the race, Ryan Shea was the lead American. He was 56th, and he was 2 minutes and 15 seconds behind these leaders that you're seeing. So running on a pace of about 2:14 for the marathon. These guys are running at about a 2:10 pace, and this is maybe a break that we've been waiting for. This is about the biggest lead anybody has pulled away to make right now, and that is Garib for Morocco. And look at the rest of the pack now single file chasing him where they were all together. The race in many ways has begun.
Jawad Garib of Morocco setting the pace right now, but 21 runners within 6 seconds of his lead. Of the men's marathon in Paris here, and it continues to wind through the streets. And you mentioned the Japanese runners, and certainly one of those who's looking ahead to the Olympics next year.
And there you see the lead pack right up there, part of the lead pack anyway. And that is I believe that's Aburaya.
Daniel Caimi from Italy, 10th at the 99 World Championships in the marathon. The other Italian runner, Stefano Baldini, who you talked about just a moment ago.
Yep, and Baldini is dogged. He really is. I've watched him on numerous marathons. He's run New York and been very successful with it at different times. And some of the other runners from South Africa, they have a very fine group down there that trains in an organized fashion as well, although it's sometimes seasonal when they get their athletes together for training camps, whereas the Ethiopians and the Kenyans have a much more year-round program than do the South Africans.
That was Hendrik Ramala from South Africa, who's involved in one of those little bumps and pushing instances earlier in the race. Had words with another one of the runners.
Terry, we received word that the Olympic champion and the world champion from Edmonton, Gezahene Abera, has dropped out of the race. We never saw him up in the lead pack, don't know the full story, but he's not there. This man who's got the lead, when I dig into his background, I'm not surprised he's up there. He's a very fine 10,000-meter runner. I'm talking about Garib from Morocco, and he made his marathon debut this year running 2:09. Oftentimes you get through running a marathon if you've had a very strong 5 and 10,000-meter background, and you say to yourself, like anything else, I can do better. I can do better. This pace is not too fast for him. He's running consistently. Ray in second place has run 2:07 earlier this year, a lifetime best. So he's fit. This pace should be in his wheelhouse, as is Rotich, who's back there. So the race is taking shape, and look at how they're beginning to surge and pull away from that large pack that was there about 3 miles ago.
Just listen for a moment to the sounds of this marathon and the fans on the streets of Paris and what the runners are hearing. Got to be an inspiration. It's one thing inside the stadium with the spontaneous roars and to hear the crowd after you won a gold medal or maybe finished the 100 meters final, but a constant cheer from the crowd as you run 26.2 miles through one of the great capitals of the world. It's got to be a peak moment.
If you're ever intending to run a marathon and you're going to run one in a major city like LA, New York, Chicago, or Boston, put your name in the upper part by your chest and they'll cheer you the whole way.
They're closing in on Stade de France and the finish line. Back with that in a moment. Marathon nearing the end. Just a moment ago, it was Michael Rotich in third place, number 818, only 20 years of age, but look at the distance between him and the two men in front. Jawad Garib from Morocco trying to win Morocco's first ever gold medal in the marathon at the World Championships, and Julio Rey trying to carry on the great tradition for Spain. Spain has won 3 of the last 4 gold medals at the World Championships in the men's marathon, Larry.
And back in third place, Rotich, who we just looked at, Rotich wound up getting passed by Stefano Baldini from Italy. And there you see him. He just has made the move into third place for Baldini. He's got too much territory, I think, to get up with the other guys. They're about now 35 seconds in front of Baldini and Rotich. And it is now a 2-person race as they are about, Terry, a mile away from closing the gap in the stadium. This is an interesting development that's going on. It's late in the races, and I've sat beside these leaders many times in New York and so forth and watch the facial expressions. And the stress shows of fatigue when you start staring at the center lines right in front of you or the median strip you're running down. You really don't have the energy to look left or right. Ray, in second place, drafting off Garib, has been looking left and right, prancing along. You would think that it would favor how fresh he looks with a mile to go in this race. Plus, he's been letting Garib, the Moroccan, break the wind most of the time.
And Ray, as you mentioned earlier in the race, the man who would go out and see if anyone would go after him, and a lot of different antics early on from the Spaniard, but now he is among the two that are leading the race. Juan Garib from Morocco and Julio Ray.
Now, the other sidebar going on here is oftentimes when two guys are neck and neck like this, I look at who has the best raw sprint speed, and it would favor the Moroccan we're looking at right now. He's got a faster 10,000-meter time. He's very good at 5,000. Ray is also a very good 10,000-meter runner, but there's a 30-second personal best difference between the two. Actually, it's probably 20 seconds or so, but still, that's a significant difference as we look at Baldini in third place. So this is going to turn into a battle just as it did in Edmonton, down to the last half mile or so. And in Edmonton,
what a finish in Edmonton.
Fantastic. These guys ran in the stadium the last 3/4 of a lap, Ibarra did, at a 4-minute mile pace. They picked it up that fast after running a full marathon, and he won by just 1 second over Simon Biwott of Kenya. So here we are again, two men down to the last battle. 60,000 goes for first. The last mile, you get $30,000 or you don't get it.
So in Edmonton, the two runners coming into the stadium together, and as you said, just a second, 1 second, a mere second, the differential between the winner and the silver medalist. And could we have the same type finish here in Paris?
You expend significant energy, and it is really measurable. Just that's why cars do it, you know, and they drafted Indianapolis. It's easier to tuck in and let someone else do it and draft off them. And look at the move here. There's stress on the face for the first time on Ray, and a little distance as you saw Garib push on the hill.
Juan Garib from Morocco coming up that hill. A little bit of an incline as they come up right now. Garib, coached by Brahim Butayev, the 1988 Olympic champion at 10,000 meters. And Morocco, of course, has won world and Olympic gold medals at 1,500, 5,000, 10,000 meters, but never in the marathon.
Baldini in third. Tough competitor, as I mentioned, and he let the other guys kind of get away. And even though he's really, I would say, running even faster, they're running at about a 4-minute 45-second per mile pace. And that's Abaraya from Japan, who is trying to hold on and has moved up past Rotich as well and is now in fourth place.
Now a lead change, Julio Ray from Spain in red taking the lead. Although Garib right alongside now. Great crowds all along the streets of Paris for the men's marathon as Baldini is behind and you can't see the leaders ahead of him.
Less than half a mile to go, and they're close to coming into the stadium. They will do 1 1/4 laps once they get in the stadium, and there's thousands and thousands of people here as we're about to start the actual track event shortly, so they're having a great reception.
Starting to enter the stadium, and they enter it together, just like in Edmonton. It was a great finish in Edmonton in 2001. A second differential, that's it. Garib and Ray coming down through the tunnel. And they'll hear the cheers in a moment.
Here goes the move right now. This is the move you're seeing as he's looking over his shoulder. Now he'll watch the Jumbotron and look up to see what lead he's got. And Ray cannot respond so far.
Juan Garib from Morocco taking the lead. You saw him glance back just to see where Julio Ray was. So now he extends the lead, Larry.
Boy, when you're in second place, this is painful. Your mind says, lift your legs, go, go, and they will not respond any faster. Garib, with a superior 10,000-meter speed, has opened up a quick gap here.
The championship record is 2:10.03, set back at the first World Championship in 1983.
And that is history.
That's gone. That is done. They are in the stadium already. Juan Garib from Morocco. Can he hang on? Julio Ray from Spain. Stefano Baldini currently in third. He has entered the stadium, too.
Look at the arm action. You know, late in a race like this, you just try and pump your arms and help carry yourself, help lift your legs to go faster. He knows exactly where Ray is behind him. 3 more athletes are in the stadium. There's jumbotrons at either far end on the turn, so you can look up and see how comfortable your lead is. And he knows that he is going to be world champion here. Morocco is going to celebrate. Hicham El Guerrouj is thrilled.
Jawad Gharib from Morocco, his personal best at 2:09:15. Look at the time here. He is going to win the gold medal, the first ever in the men's marathon for Morocco. And it's Julio Rey from Spain. Spain had won 3 of the last 4 gold medals in the marathon at the World Championships. He crosses the line for the silver and is in pain at the moment. But also relieved.
You know, it never really hurts when you win.
When you're so close and you don't quite get there, though, it's awfully painful.
Very painful. It's very painful.
Stefano Baldini from Italy entered the stadium 3rd, and he will win the bronze medal.
Adding a wonderful additional ribbon to his chest full of medals in a stellar career.
So the rest of the runners coming down the line.
Portugal's Alberto Checha.
Just ahead of the runner from Japan, Shigeru Aburaya. But it's Gharib from Morocco who finishes the 26.2 miles here in Paris first and captures the gold medal. In what was a very physical marathon early on. A lot of jousting, some pushing, a lot of words between the marathon runners early. And there is your 2003 world champion. And everyone in the stadium here at Stade de France on their feet and saluting the men who have spent the last few hours in pain and suffering.
You know, the first half's not bad, but increasingly it gets tougher and tougher. And we salute these men. It's not like a basketball game. You have a bad game and you get another one the next day. It takes 6 months of preparation for this.
First ever gold in the men's marathon for Morocco, Jawad Gharib. And he's going to stand there and just take it all in, I think. Coming up. There's your men's marathon winner for 2003, Jawad Gharib from Morocco. And quite a finish once again. We had a great one in Edmonton and now here in Paris, Larry.
It certainly was. And, you know, a lot of marathoners, when they're out in the race course, wish that Phidippides, who inspired this event, had died at 15 miles and not 25. And, boy, at this point in the race, you really wish that. You just don't want to try and sprint at this juncture. But the man who set the pace, and that's what confused me, usually a better man who has more sprint speed at the end of a race tucks in behind the other guy he thinks he can outkick and lets him break the wind. But it was really Gharib who chose to break the wind and be first, and that's what confused me. I just felt he's got the better sprint speed. He should win, but why is he breaking the pace? But he came home first, shattered Rob Di Castello's record from the first World Championships in Helsinki in 1983, and it was Morocco beating out the cradle of endurance runners, that area of the world in East Africa of Ethiopia and Kenya for the victory.
World Championship best, personal best for Jawad Gharib from Morocco. Made his move right there in the tunnel. Went downhill, got the speed built up, and took off. And there was no way Julio Rey could stay with him. From Spain, 2:08:38. His time, Stefano Baldini saw him make the move about a mile and a half out or so, and got up for 3rd and the bronze medal. Quite a finish.